record
Oh,
on.
no, I can't. Yep. All right. All right. So tonight we're going to hit the 17th and 18th amendments. 17th, I got a lot to say. 18th, we're going to read it just because it's part of the Constitution. And the whole point of this thing was to read every word of the Constitution. Obviously, the 18th Amendment has been repealed in its entirety. So it doesn't really have any bearing on life today, but it's kind of interesting nonetheless. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we get to the 21st, which was the repeal amendment. 17th Amendment, though, I got a lot to say about this one, and I hope somebody read up on this a little bit. I hope somebody has something to offer, because my opinion is not necessarily right. This thing is split pretty much down the middle, depending on what sources you read. Even some conservative sources are for the 17th, some are against it. I am 100% against it. I feel like it was probably one of those things that you can point to as the undoing of the Republic. 16th Amendment, 17th Amendment, 17th for sure. And I'll get into why I think that. I could be wrong, but that's how I feel. Let's see here. So we'll get into 17th first. Like always, we'll read it, and then we'll start trying to figure it out. So there's only one section, 3 clauses. Clause 1 is the Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state elected by the people thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. The electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors of the most numerous branch of the state legislatures. When vacancies happen in the representation of any state in the Senate, the executive authority of such state shall issue writs of election to fill such vacancies, provided that the legislature of any state may empower the executive thereof to make temporary appointments until the people fill the vacancies by election as the legislature may direct. This amendment shall not be construed as to affect the election or term of any senator chosen before it becomes valid as part of the Constitution. So, in a nutshell, what this does is change the Constitution. Which is what amendments do. But this actually changes a portion of the, this is the only change to the way Congress functions. And what it did was take the Senate, which was originally filled through the state legislatures, and made it a popular election from the people. So, history on it. Article 1, Section 3 of the Constitution, if you remember that far back, says that the Senate of the United States shall be composed of 2 senators from each state, chosen by the legislature thereof for 6 years, and each senator shall have 1 vote. And that's the way it was supposed to work. See where I'm at here. So, the way this was supposed to work, if you remember, is the Senate was supposed to represent the states. The House of Representatives was supposed to represent the people. The House of Representatives was supposed to represent their constituents and what was best for their constituents, right? But what was best for their constituents was not always best for state sovereignty. And that is where the Senate was supposed to come in. The Senate was supposed to say, you know what? We understand what you're doing. We understand that the House says this is good for the people, but this is not good for state sovereignty. This is not good for Ohio, right? So we're gonna kill this thing right here. And the Senate did. They killed a whole lot of bills that came up that they felt were going to infringe on the states. Now, leading up to 1913, there were scandals and infighting at the state legislature levels. Progressives seized upon this, and they got the 17th Amendment passed in 1912. It was ratified in 1913. However, this idea was first brought up in 1826. So it's been floated around for a long time, but Congress never entertained the idea since 1826 until the progressives got in power. And this is just another one of their, the progressive agenda that they pushed through. Now, I understand the arguments that there was corruption going on, right? There were state legislatures that they were saying were being bought. Their vote for senator was being bought. So that senator was bought and paid for and sent up to Washington. I understand that happens. And if it does happen, and the people realized it was happening, we could just vote those state legislatures out. state legislators out. But instead of trying to fix the problem, they did away with Article 1, Section 3. I'm getting feedback from somebody. It's making it hard to talk. All right, I think it's gone. So leading up to this, there were a number of states that were already conducting non-binding advisory popular elections. All right, now you remember that the Constitution was clear that they were chosen by the legislatures of the states, but there were several states that wanted the people to have a voice in this. So they would do non-binding advisory popular elections for senators, and typically they would follow whatever the popular vote was. And so it was a workaround, and this was leading up to the 17th Amendment being passed by Congress. So the progressive movement had already taken hold, and they were already moving forward with this before they even moved forward with the 17th. Questions on that? Any comments on that real quick? We'll talk about the ramifications here. So if your comment or question is about what happened because of it, allow me my soapbox. Does anybody have anything? Good. So here is what my problem is with this. So the states lost a valuable tool and the power to stop federal overreach. Like I said, if there was a law coming down the pike that stepped on states' rights, the states could stop it. Right now, because of this, we've lost that tool. We have no way. So when we say, what can we do? The government is just getting so big. How do we stop it? Well, this is how we stopped it, right? The Senate would stop it, and the Senate did stop it quite a bit. The Senate did not represent the people. It represented the states, and it represented state autonomy and state sovereignty. And whenever something came along that stepped on the states' rights, that is when the Senate would get involved and say, we're not passing this. So the federal government's expansion exploded following the 17th Amendment, because now we don't have anybody there for the states' rights, right? What we have, instead of, which is supposed to be bicameral, which is two separate houses, right? We got the House of Representatives for the people, and we've got the Senate for the states. But now what we have, because it's all popular election now, so we have senators who are now representing their constituency, and they're not representing the states anymore. So we have both houses that are representing the people and nobody to represent the states. And that is how we got in this mess. If you look at when the federal government started growing, go back and look. It started right after the 17th Amendment got ratified. And there was nothing to stop them at that point. There was nobody in the states to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do this. They voted what they thought was best for their people at that point, right? And that's what the people are concerned with. The people are concerned with, what can you do for me? So the senators now at this point, they were going back to their state legislatures and saying, hey, look, I'm doing what's right for the state, keep me here. They don't have to do that anymore. What they have to do is go back to the people and say, look at all this free stuff I got you, right? Here's free money that I got you. Here's whatever pet project that you wanted. Here's, whatever. That's who they're going back to now. So without anybody for the states, anybody to fight for the states, there's nothing to stop the expansion of the federal government now.
And you hear that too when they are campaigning. How many times do you ever hear senators or representatives saying, this is what the states want. This is what the states want. No, it's all about, this is what the people want. This is my people want this. You never hear the states being mentioned.
Because they don't work for the states anymore. Now you'll hear sometimes that, one of the big things was that if they went, when they were representing the states, if the senator did not represent the will of the states, that the states could recall that senator. And that's not true. I've heard that a couple times. I've read that a couple times while I was researching this stuff. And there is absolutely nothing that I can find that says that's true. They were still elected by the states for a 6-year term. Now, at the end of those 6 years, the states could just say, look, you're not you're not our guy anymore. So as opposed to with the people, even if they're not doing a good job, they could still run again. The states could say at the end of that 6-year term, you're out. You know, we're going to find somebody else. We're going to find somebody who will actually do our bidding. Well, yeah.
One of the questions I have, you said they talked about it for many, many years before they passed it. So I'm wondering what happened historically that prompted that. Like, what did people feel like they weren't being taken care of or heard, or?
Well, a big part of it, when you look into the history of it, a big part of it is that there was always corruption, right? People always felt that these guys were being bought. There was a lot of infighting going on. And there were times when the senators couldn't come, you know, a lot of or not senators, the legislators, they would vote for themselves. They would all vote for themselves to be senator, and they would end up with nobody as a senator for sometimes a year or two. And so that state now would not have representation, right? And I understand where that's a problem. That's a big problem. You can't have one state who doesn't have representation. It's just not fair. And so I guess that's probably when this idea started getting floated around. Progressive got in there. Now, if you go and you start researching this yourself, you start looking it up, you are going to see an unbelievable amount of, especially podcasts, that are calling for the repeal of the 17th Amendment. Now, I don't know if I don't think it's a new thing, but I don't know if it's picking up steam. There's a lot of current talk about repealing the 17th Amendment and taking it back to the way it was, where we have senators that are representing the states for states' rights now. You know, I guess I would have to look at the ramifications of repealing the 17th. I mean, how that would work, what that would look like, what protections are going to be in place so there's not corruption going on.
That kind of goes into where my question was going to be, in that who gets rid of a senator if they need to be impeached at that point? If they are appointed by the state, does the state impeach a senator?
I guess there we go. I guess the impeachment process would still, because that impeachment process is still in place. So the impeachment process, once they're there, I would assume would just go like normal, right? The House would impeach them and the Senate tries it.
That's kind of
now. If you look back at and that's another point I wanted to bring up. If you look back at how the Constitution's set up, right? It's set up for the Senate to protect the states, right? The Senate is given the responsibility of ratifying treaties, right? The Senate is given certain responsibilities that the House is not given. You know, they're the ones that get to confirm, you know, appointees and cabinet members and things like that, because those people are going to affect the states. They still have those duties, but now they've been neutered. I mean, it just doesn't, it's not really a two-house system like it was designed to be. It's a one-house system that's just divided. You know, they're both for the people.
Did you come across anything that said why 6 years instead of 4 years?
No, but it's always been that way in the Constitution for the Senate. It's always been 6. And what they do is every 2 years, 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election. So, but their term is actually 6 years. But every 2 years, you'll see Senate races, but they're all different. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So one third of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years.
Wouldn't that be a way to kind of limit the corruption if you downsize their term from 6 years to 4 years?
Well, no, because the corruption's not coming from them. The corruption's coming from the state legislators, because they're the ones who are appointing the senators, right? So Ohio's legislators would get together and they would be the ones to elect amongst themselves the senator. So then you get special interests who are coming in, and they are basically buying these legislators to vote one certain way or to put one person in there. That's where the corruption's coming. It's not necessarily coming from the senator himself, but it's coming from the legislators who are going to put somebody in there who is kind to whoever, whatever lobbyist group or whoever's paying for that, which is still a problem.
Corruption.
So now we leave it to the lobbyists to corrupt our senators and Congress people.
Well, you know what? I mean, there's always talk about lobbyist reform, right? I mean, that's how you fix this. You stop lobbying. I mean, I don't understand lobbying in the first place. You want to go in a lobby, the politicians to do something, but you're not throwing money at them. You're trying to convince them. Okay. I got no problem with that. But lobbying, when you're throwing money at people, I mean, money's the root of all evil. I don't care how clean you are. Somebody throws enough money at you and now you're thinking, right? Man, what I could do with all this.
That boat would look
Why
nice
it's
in my
legal.
driveway.
Man, it's just why it's legal is just, it's amazing to me. But
I wonder,
yeah,
with the amount of federal government overreach that's been going on, especially lately, I wonder if you're going to start hearing even more about repealing the 17th and maybe it going mainstream. Because I mean, the amount of federal government overreach is just getting crazier by the day. And
I'm
people get
for
tired
it.
of
I'm for it because there is no protection for the states right now. There's
Right.
none, right? Ohio can bitch about it, but there's nobody in Washington to do anything about it. When we had the Senate on our side, we could stop a whole lot of stuff. Whatever the case may be, they come down with an education bill and, the people are like, oh, that sounds great. But then you had the Senate who said, hey, not so quick. 10th Amendment gives us rights over education. We're not going to pass this bill. This should remain with us. So, but now who's the Senate beholden to? They're beholden to the popular vote. They're beholden to the people who elected them. So you got both houses right now that are working for the same people. Granted, the Senate is elected by a much bigger body than a representative, but they're all being elected by the same people. You know what I mean? So it's just, I mean, everybody who votes for Jim Jordan is also voting for Rob. Same race.
Yeah.
So
One of the big
I just don't.
that I think with the states that maybe it doesn't really seem like it's had an impact like it didn't on corruption. But I think this is potentially a gerrymandering issue. You gerrymander the districts right, and then all of a sudden you have a predominantly Republican or predominantly Democrat body in your House that elects the senator. So I think there's bigger risk for that. I think there's more
That elects the senator. Oh, I got you. You mean at the state level?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't, but you know what? You're going to have that no matter. I mean, you've got Republican states. You've got Republican states, you've got Democratic states, right? There's more Republican states out there right now. I mean, you're always going to have that. I don't.
Yeah, it's just how do you?
I get what you're saying. Gerrymandering is a bunch of garbage. I mean, listen. It helps us, and I think it's garbage. I do. I don't understand gerrymandering. I mean, I don't understand how you can carve out a quarter of a county and, here you take a whole county there, half a county there, you take this side of the street in a neighborhood. I mean, what? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it just.
I know in Ohio, like basically just like part of the lakefront all down. It's like all the lakefront property, even though it's like multiple different counties, is one representative. It's weird.
Or not kept.
It's got to be based off of voting records.
Sure, it is. That's what they do.
Should be illegal.
I mean, they have it right. They have it right down to neighborhoods. How neighborhoods voted. They'll carve neighborhoods out. Oh well, you know what? This Mills Creek North has consistently voted Democrat. So we're going to carve them out. We're going to take the South, and then we're going to go over and take this part of Lear Nagel. That's how it works. It's crazy. It's just absolute insanity to me, but whatever. I don't make the rules. I just bitch about them. So you know what? That's where I stand, man. I think 17th Amendment absolutely destroyed the Republic. It allowed for the just unfettered growth of the federal government. So when we bitch about it and we say this is our fault, in the short term it's our fault through apathy and ignorance. right? Because people aren't involved like they should be. But when you want to point a finger, when you want to put your finger on one thing that happened that caused the federal government to get out of control, I don't know how you can overlook the 17th Amendment. I don't get it. Oh, and here's oh no, never mind. We'll talk about that here in a minute. You know, the 16th, 17th, 18th Amendments, you know, these are all during the progressive era. Well, we can get into the 18th Amendment. Does anybody have anything on the 17th Amendment? Anything else? Questions, comments? Does anybody disagree with me? Does anybody think the 17th Amendment's a good thing? Because there's a whole lot of people out there, even conservatives, that think the 17th Amendment's a good thing. I'm just not in that camp. That's why I'm saying, I mean, my opinion is just my opinion. I could very well be wrong here. And according to a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me, I am wrong. But according to a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me, I'm right. So I don't know what to believe. I think I'm right. And if you don't think I'm right, I'm going to kick you out of my group. So does anybody think I'm not right? Just kidding. I won't kick anybody out. No? Everybody thinks I'm right, huh? You guys didn't even read it. Sons of bitches. All right. So we'll move on to the 18th. 18th is pretty cool, I think. I mean, the history on it, it's kind of neat how it came to be. I'm not going to get into everything. I'll get into some of the early stuff about it. So the whole thing has been repealed. There is nothing here that is in force. Section 1 of the 18th Amendment is after 1 year from ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquors. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. This is the only time during our meetings that you're allowed to, or that I'm allowed to drink during the meeting. So we're talking about repealing the 18th Amendment. You've got to drink. You got to drink. So if you're not drinking, please. Cheers.
Cheers.
Speaking
After 1 year from the ratification of this,
jars.
what's that? Oh yeah.
Speaking of prohibition, I found jars.
Yeah, me too. I should probably be drinking out of a jar for this. All right, come on. Gotta get me back on track here. After 1 year for the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into or the exportation thereof from the United States and all territories subject to the jurisdiction thereof for beverage purposes is hereby prohibited. Section 2, the Congress and the several states shall have concurrent power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. Section 3, the article shall be inoperative unless it shall have been ratified as an amendment to the Constitution by the legislatures of the several states as provided in the Constitution within 7 years from the date of submission hereof to the states by the Congress. So section 1, what it says is after 1 year from the ratification of this article, the manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors. What is it missing? Anybody, does this, anything stand out to anybody? Manufacture, sale, and transportation of intoxicating liquors within the importation thereof into or the exportation thereof. Anybody see what it's missing?
Consumption.
Correct. So it was illegal to manufacture, it was illegal to sell, it was illegal to transport any intoxicating liquors. What it was not illegal to do was to drink intoxicating liquors in the privacy of your own home. Now, one would say, I mean, how are you going to get it, right? I mean, I guess you had to make it yourself. I don't know. But if you were able to get it from somebody and you were able to get it home and you did not get caught, then it was legal to drink it in your own home. Section 2 is kind of interesting. The Congress, everything that you read says the Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. This is the first one where they said, and the several states shall have concurrent power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation, which is pretty funny because that is ultimately their downfall. Moving on. All right, but why? Why would we do this? Why? I mean, obviously, there's problems with alcohol, right? But there's problems with everything. There's problems with cigarettes. There's problems with, trans fats. There's problems with everything. So why alcohol? Well, alcohol was evil. That's why. So temperance movements grew steadily since 1675, when Massachusetts creates the Office of the Tippingman, which is charged with finding and reporting violations of liquor laws within people's homes. Now, that was before the Constitution, so there was nothing stopping them, the king's men, from kicking in doors and walking in to see if you were violating liquor laws. So it starts in 1675, these temperance movements, and they continue on up until and still some are still going on today. There's one, Christian, I think it's Christian Women's temperance movement, something like that. Still active today. So these temperance movements who felt that alcohol was the devil, Susan B. Anthony had started one, and they were fighting. I'm sure you guys have seen the pictures that were floating around Facebook of the old ladies that nobody wanted to kiss anyway. And they were holding signs up, something along the lines of, if alcohol touches your lips will never touch mine, something like that. It was a big protest item. So they managed to get this thing passed. This is fun. The National Prohibition Party formed in 1869. So an actual party whose entire platform was prohibition. Didn't get a whole lot of traction. There was, I don't remember the date. There was one that was early on where they ended up with 265,000 votes or something. So it was, it was right around this time. So it was starting to pick up. You want a fun little fact? And if you look it up, the National Prohibition Party is still in existence today and still active. So if you hate alcohol, cheers, you can join the Prohibition Party and try to get your, what's that?
I'm going to run for president under that party.
Under the Prohibition Party? Yeah, let me know. Let me know how that works, especially with this administration in here right now. Alcohol use has never been higher. So I don't think you're going to do very good. Every time I watch the news, the first thing I do is pour a drink, like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, National Prohibition Party still active today. It is the third oldest party. And there's another one. Maybe the oldest third party. I think that's what it is. They're the third oldest party overall and the oldest third party.
They were talking about an alcohol shortage on the news earlier this morning. I wonder if this party's behind it.
It's because of the shortage of jars.
I'm looking around. I think I'm going to be all right for a little while. I should be good for a little while. Just for a little bit.
It's aluminum cans.
Oh, is it aluminum cans? So bottles are still good?
Yeah, but people are going away from cans or going away from bottles because they're more expensive and they are more expensive to ship overall.
Go back to barrels.
Go back to the
ale barrels.
Madeira. They used to drink back in the Revolution. No, we'll talk about that here in a minute. So what is pretty interesting to me is that this was not financially feasible until the 16th Amendment gets ratified. You guys remember what the 16th Amendment is, yeah? Come on. We're only on 18. 16, yes. Income tax. They could not do this until the 16th Amendment got ratified. Once the 16th Amendment got ratified, it was full steam ahead for prohibition. The reason was the government was making so much money taxing alcohol that they couldn't afford to get rid of it. If they had just gotten rid of it, there was going to be a deficit. I mean, they were just going to be out of money. Once the income tax got passed, nothing's stopping them. So again, the 16th Amendment ruining the world. Not only does it make income taxes legal, but because of the 16th Amendment, now you can't drink anymore. So goddamn, man. I tell you, these progressives ruin the country. Cheers. And it was finally repealed 1933, 14 years, right? Striking one of the last remaining laws from the Prohibition era. President Jimmy Carter signs a federal law legalizing the home brewing of beer. So the very last remnant of Prohibition struck down in 1978, I believe is when he did it.
And so started the biggest party the country ever saw, the biggest
Oh,
hangover
buddy,
the
I
next
tell
day.
you what, I tell you what, I saw a picture today. Actually, I was going to get it. I was going to save it and I was going to put it on here, and I don't know why I didn't. It was, yeah, I don't know if it's true, but it was titled. It was clearly an old picture, and it was titled "The Day After Prohibition's Repealed." And it was some guy who was passed out, just sleeping in the middle of a street on like a big pile of empty bottles. Like, I would have loved to have lived in 1933, the day that prohibition was repealed. Oh my God. And, you know, it's kind of interesting that they immediately stopped all prosecutions for prohibition. So once it was repealed, anybody who was going through the system, anybody who was, I don't know about in jail, but they stopped prosecutions immediately. So that's it. I mean, that's the 18th in a nutshell, what it was, and fun little facts on it. But it actually lasted for a while. I mean, you're talking about 1913, I believe it was. Was it 13? What did I say? What day was it?
Yeah, 1913.
18. No, passed by Congress. 17, ratified 1919. So yeah. So I mean, it's kind of crazy, man, that it goes from 1919 to 1933. You know, no, I mean, obviously they were drinking. Oh, that's the thing I want to talk about. So the reason it got repealed was nullification, right? The progressives actually put it in the amendment that the states could enforce this also. And they never thought in a million years that the states weren't going to enforce it. Well, the states stopped enforcing it. And the states stopped assisting the federal government with enforcement. So it's just another case of nullification, that there was nothing that the federal government could do. Nobody was helping them do this. They would show up, right? They would show up with their big photo ops, and they would put axes into barrels and drain it in the street, but it wasn't making a dent. They didn't have the manpower at that point to enforce prohibition, and they gave up on it. That's ultimately
we could
what it
really
came down to.
use some more nullification today.
Sounds familiar.
Oh, yes, we could. Yes, we could. We could use nullification on a whole lot of stuff, and really, that's our only hope right now because of the 17th Amendment. We don't have anybody else the states have to stand up for themselves, which is going to be the whole. There's nobody in Washington that's going to stand up for the states.
Yeah, somebody cut the balls off this country. So,
well, so far we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's it. That's 17th, and that's the 18th. Anybody got anything you want to talk about with it?
Yeah, a little fun fact with the 18th Amendment.
Yeah.
With the post office, the reason that they haven't the regulations for shipping alcohol never changed after the 18th Amendment. So that's why you can't ship alcohol without. Yeah.
Really? So there are still some remnants of it.
I think that's only that's the last thing that's still around. Guy came in.
Wait a minute. What do you mean you can't ship
a bottle of whiskey?
Well, how?
It is illegal to ship USPS alcohol.
So
it's
how
also
do these
illegal to ship it through through FedEx or other
UPS
or FedEx.
Well, how do these stores get it then? How do these stores get it from Kentucky?
They have
shipping it.
They can get it through distributors. You just can't ship it through the post office.
Right.
You still can't ship it through the post office. Prior to that, you could.
So when I ship my,
be able to mail kids on trains. You used to put postage on kids and mail them on trains.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, that's true, man. They got that picture of that kid sitting in the mail pouch.
If I make my beer and I want to ship it to homebrew competition, I have to be very selective how I ship it. I have to call it like yeast samples or other things so that it doesn't get flagged by UPS or FedEx, and I will not ship through USPS.
God, can you imagine you're shipping a $2,000 bottle of bourbon? It gets caught. I assume they just seize it and destroy it, right?
How are these wine companies doing it then?
Well, they say they destroy it, but I'm pretty sure they enjoy it at their holiday party.
I'm sure they do.
It still gets shipped though, like through FedEx or UPS, because those are private companies. So, post office though, different story.
There's some things that can be shipped. For example, I have a specific winery in Tennessee that I absolutely love. And it's called Stonehouse. And that Stonehouse winery will ship me wine, but they have a contract that allows them only to ship wine to certain states. So if I lived,
you can go ahead.
if I lived in a state that wasn't Ohio, but was maybe Pennsylvania is very strict, or someplace else like New York or out west, I very well might not be able to get that wine shipped to me from that state.
It depends
That's
if they're
right.
paying taxes or not.
It depends on what, and I think it has something to do too, because they've told me before that it has to do with the contract that they have with the state.
And the taxes they pay.
I'm sure.
Well, that's
God, yeah.
ultimately what it comes down to, right? Is
How
they're
much
getting their
money are you going to give me to get that shipment
Right.
to there?
Yep, exactly. Now, I mean, it's the same thing with distillers, because I know I've bought bottles of whiskey, bottles of bourbon before, and they ship it. I don't know. I don't remember now. It's been so long since I bought one through the mail. Can distributors, can they ship through the Postal Service?
No,
No,
Nobody can.
no.
yeah, no alcohol, no alcohol can be shipped with the post office.
Yeah, well,
Everything
they
I've
must,
ever done is come FedEx or UPS.
yeah, it must be. Huh.
Usually
pretty
it's
interesting.
UPS is sent with sends alcohol.
I had no idea. That's pretty cool.
I find that just to be hilarious, because I can order ammunition through the mail, USPS.
Right.
I can order up to, I think, 20 pounds of gunpowder through the US mail. But I can't order a bottle of wine or,
Right.
a bottle of whiskey. Strange.
Yeah.
No taxes on gunpowder.
Yeah, that's true too, right? It's all about the money, man. All right. So 17, 18, everybody good?
I guess
We'll
I'm
get in.
wondering, like, why they used to teach us that the 18th Amendment was the amendment that takes away when others give. When you think about it, like, the 16th Amendment is taking away too. I mean, the 18th always stood out for being the one that took our freedoms away compared to all the rest. But taxes, right? That took away too. Doesn't.
I've never heard that though, that the 18th takes away and everything is the only one that takes away.
Oh, I don't know. That's what I remember being taught, but
No, you could be right.
wrong.
No, chances are I'm wrong. Let me see here. All right, so next Tuesday we're going to pick it up, and looking at it, I can probably work. Yeah, we can get through 19 and 20. We'll do 19 and 20 next week. Yeah, we could do 19 and 20. 19's not going to take long. If you're a woman, you get to vote. And then 20 is going to take a little longer. It's kind of long. But yeah, if nobody has questions, then I guess we can call this one a wrap. 17 and 18 in the books. What's that?
At least I snuck in before it ended. It's Gorski.
Oh, hey, what's up, Rick? Yeah, man, what'd you forget?
Yeah, we were pretty busy here. We had a bunch of stuff going on. Sorry, guys. I really
No, you have to watch this one. Oh, this is a big one. The 17th Amendment's a big one, man. You probably want to look at that one. All right. So we're going to go over, I'm going to go over to the post. We can talk a little bit over there, unless anybody else has anything. All right. Right on. I will see you guys next week. If you don't go to the post, I will see you next week, 8 o'clock. It is every week from this point on, 8 p.m.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you guys.